let's talk about safety equipment. So
Yeah.
why don't you kind of give us a little overview? What should we? The way I've got it set out, I've got the gloves and the shoes kind of matched up at good, better, and best at price points. So why don't you give a little overview of gloves and shoes, and then we'll start showing some product.
Yeah. So, Ken, you did such a good job of explaining the importance of gloves and shoes and how it interacts with your driving, right? That interface with you and the vehicle. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's so critical that you have that input, and not just from a performance driving standpoint, that certainly is important. But as we've always said, that the best way to avoid a crash event is to avoid it to begin with, right? To not have a crash event, or be injured in a crash event is not have a crash event. And the best way to do that is to really be focused on your driving. And one of the ways that really helps you focus on your driving is having safety equipment or anything that touches your body, really, that you're comfortable in it. So you're not thinking about it. And it's easy to assume that you put a pair of gloves on, you in the store, you wrap them around a faux steering wheel or whatever, and think, oh, that's okay. It bunches up a little bit, but it's not a big deal. It doesn't hurt, whatever, and that's fine. But when you're on track, say in an endurance event or something like that for several hours, any little thing that was okay for a few minutes may become problematic as you go on, and maybe actually start hurting. And even if it doesn't, it even subconsciously can pull your concentration away from the task at hand, which of course is staying focused on your driving. And we're not focused on our driving. That's when mistakes happen, and then that's when you can end up in a crash event. So ergonomics, being comfortable is really critical, and shoes and gloves play a really big part of that.
Okay, so why don't you give us a little overview of the different kinds of gloves? We'll start with that, and then the different kinds of shoes, and then we'll show them.
Yeah, sure. So we have, I think the first one up is going to be our G6 glove. This is a fairly traditional glove that people are really used to. It's sewn on the inside internal stitching. It's got leather embossed on the palms for wear. No mixed fabric for the fire protection, the fire rating, TPP. Just a good basic glove. SFI, it's SFI rated, so 5, so that you don't have any issues running that, in any of the events that you're going to go to. Just a good basic glove. $85 is retail on that one, so good price point on that. And Kenny could probably tell you, it's actually pretty decently comfortable for a.
Yeah, it's surprisingly comfortable for.
It is surprisingly comfortable.
That price point, it's really comfortable.
Yeah, I think gloves have come a long way, really, in the last few decades in terms of comfort and knowing how to sew them and all that good stuff. So, that's a really good entry level. Like I said, it's going to be legal pretty much anywhere you go. Almost any form of motorsport other than NHRA Top Fuel Dragster or something like that, they're going to require something more at a higher TPP rating. But virtually anywhere else, they're going to be legal. And as you said, the leather is going to help it with the grip on the steering wheel and help prevent blisters, going to probably a little bit more protection.
Okay, so then we have the good level shoe, which this is a really cool shoe.
That's the nice thing about that shoe. It really finds a good balance of being robust enough where you could wear it all day. If you want to go to the track, do some driving, and then stay in the shoe, not take it on and off to drive, or you're working on it. You've got a pit area, which a lot of times aren't the most ideal scenarios. And you're not always parked on asphalt. Sometimes you're parked in gravel lots and whatever. It's got enough sole to protect you, from the rocks and things like that. Actually, not a bad crew type shoe. It's used a lot in like off-road racing, where they may be getting it out of the vehicle, and working on it out in the desert, or crew use, things like that. Just a good all-around shoe. You can see it wraps up around the sides. You got some good protection from wear, things like that. Yep, you got the strap there to keep the strings tied up there, so they're not flopping around and getting caught in the pedals or anything. So leather. It's like a leather suede. So good, robust construction there. Not super light, but lighter than your traditional, walk around type shoe.
Yeah, what I like about this shoe, and I think it's perfect for track day guys, is every time I drive, first thing I got to do is change my shoes, because I can feel the teeniest little pebbles through my driving shoes, so I got to change them right away. So for somebody that's like working on their own car and doing things like that, when I saw this, I thought, boy, what a great idea! That's a great shoe, because you don't have to swap your shoes right away. But you still got a great driving shoe, and it's got a little leather in all the right places.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
Moving up to the better category.
Yeah, so this is going to be this is the Alpha shoe, and so we're going to move up to something that's a little bit more of a true driving shoe. If you look at the sole, you'll notice it's pretty thin. But again, this one isn't super thin, kind of in the middle area. So again, would be okay for driving, and it would be a good track day shoe. It's lighter, so you're gonna, in the thinner sole, but still stiff, but thinner soles, good for heel toe. You're gonna feel the pedal better. You're gonna feel the gas better. You've got protection on the back of the heel there. Yep, for wear. So just a good long wearing shoe, lightweight. More of a performance driving shoe. Again, that's a suede as well. And by the way, it's interesting that leather actually works pretty good for thermal protection properties, TPP ratings. It actually works, for fire rating. It's actually very good for that. The downside, of course, of leather is it's a little heavy. So you'll find that a lot of your driving shoes, your performance driving shoes, are true leather, because they do give you that, they form around the foot good so that they're comfortable, but they also give you some good protection there.
I notice it's got a nice little tread design.
Yeah, very similar to the one that you had.
Okay, now we got the better glove. I think this is the Axis.
Yeah, the Axis glove. That's the Alpha, I think. Oh no, that's the Axis. No, Axis. Yep, that's it. So the difference between when you start getting up into the more expensive gloves like this, you'll notice this glove has external stitching. Now, the external stitching is not just for aesthetics. There is actually a performance aspect to it, and that's that by getting the stitching on the outside of the glove, it doesn't bunch up on the inside of the glove where your fingers are. So it's a very, very comfortable glove to wear. So when you see an external stitch glove, that's really what that's about. I don't know who the clever person was that thought that up. I imagine somebody in a factory somewhere because traditionally they sew the gloves inside out when you manufacture gloves. They sew them inside and then you pull them back through, and somebody probably put it on that way and said, wow, this is really comfortable. Why don't we just make them like this? So anyways, you see a large prevalence of external stitch gloves. And
you know what I think? I think somebody in the factory screwed up.
Yeah,
they made it wrong one time.
Yeah.
And then they tried to bunch of them. The manager came by and said, hey, this feels pretty good. So,
well, what do we do with these? I don't know. They look pretty cool. Let's see if people will buy them. So, but yeah, now it's really become a thing, and rightfully so. They are very, very, very comfortable to wear that way. And that glove also has the leather inner palms, but it's a little bit thinner. If you compare that to the G6, it's a thinner leather. It's a little finer, gives you a little bit better tactile feel on the steering wheel than the other glove does, but still has a high level protection and wear because of the leather palms.
Okay, now we're moving up into the pro category.
Yeah. So this is literally is the stuff that you'll find a lot of the professional drivers will be using, in people that are really serious about their gloves and shoes. And can appreciate really finely crafted shoes and gloves and just that feel. That's our Phenom Shoe. Again, very, very thin sole on that one. So
really light.
Yeah, very, very, very lightweight. Tan calf skin just helps keep it clean, and it's got a great look to it. Really thin leather again, so it really forms the foot. Even after you wear that for a while and breaks in, it's super, super, super comfortable. Yeah, you notice the soles just, like I said, really thin, almost razor thin there. So again, you're going to feel the pedal input really, really well in that shoe, the gas and the brake. It's very appropriate for heel toe. You're going to feel that well. And again, the lightweight. One thing I want to point out on shoes, and this is, I think, as important as to why you would want to use a true driving shoe versus, say, your a walking shoe, your tennis shoes, whatever you may typically wear every day, is you want to avoid, at least I think, you want to avoid any kind of a shoe that has like a flared sole on it. When you're driving. The reason being is that you can get a false sense of engagement with the pedal with those shoes because the sole, how it overhangs out, flares out away from the shoe. You may think you can be on the brake pedal under a hard braking situation, and because that sole is flared out, it can roll or flip off. If you just catch the edge of the pedal, you may not be aware of it, and you go to really start braking, and it'll push off the edge of the shoe. And next thing you know, you're not on the brake. So with a shoe like this, you know for sure whether you're on the brake pedal or not. And it's not going to flip or roll off the side of the brake pedal. If you've got engagement with it, say ½ inch, 3/4 of an inch, or whatever, it's on it. And you know that. And you can correct too if you want to have more engagement with the pedal as well. So I think that's something worth pointing out. Just one of the downsides of using maybe a street shoe in a performance driving situation. Not only that, the shoes like that are tended to be for comfort, so they're very thick and they're very cushy, so you don't get that engagement with the pedal. You don't get that feedback like you do with a true driving shoe.
Yeah, if I drive cars with like regular street shoes, if I have to just jump in and drive something I always have to be aware of is my right foot getting caught underneath the brake pedal as I'm going through the extra brake, because that's happened to me a couple times, which really kind of screws off your timing. So that's another good point for driving shoes.
Yeah, and those flares on the bottom would increase the chances of that happening too. You're right. You pull up off the gas pedal, could hook underneath the brake pedal. So very good point.
Okay, now we've got the Mac Daddy.
Yeah, that is our Alpha glove, and again, it is an external stitch glove like the other one, but a couple key differences on this one. There are two main differences between this glove and the other ones. One is that you've got a silicone embossed palms and fingers, and that's so you get really good grip on the wheel, but also really good feel on the wheel. The leather's great for wear, but a little bit of grip, but it doesn't, because it's an extra layer, you don't have that feel on the steering wheel that you do with a glove like this. The other thing about this glove that's really cool is it's what's known as a pre-curved glove, meaning that the patterns are done in such a way that the fingers are curved, intended to be sewn curved. And the reason that they do that is so that it minimizes the bunching up underneath the fingers when you wrap it around the steering wheel. Because obviously you take something that's flat, the piece of cloth, and then you bend it around, it's going to bunch up and gather up underneath your palms. And anybody that's ever done a lot of driving, and the bike guys really understand this, the motorcycle guys really understand the importance of this. That can really be problematic and very uncomfortable in a pretty short order if it's severe. Right now, the good gloves and stuff, sizing is important. You don't want to wear a glove that's too large. You really want to almost a little on the smaller side. You want to kind of squeeze in there so it's not moving around and bunching around. But that glove helps eliminate a lot of that.
And now that you mentioned that, just as I put my hand in, that's kind of like the natural way the glove is.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that till you mentioned it. I thought, hey, that's right. It is curved. I put my hand in. It's ready to grab the steering wheel and go.
Yeah, exactly. So that's we sell a lot of those gloves, and even in professional levels of motorsports, it's a really, really widely used glove.
Okay, why don't you do? We don't have any helmets other than mine that's out of date. So why don't you just give us a little quick overview on the things to look for if people are buying a helmet?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it in terms of there's always, like many things, and I don't want to say compromise, not compromising safety, but there's compromises in features, in things that maybe you want. One of the things that in helmets is that, weight versus um, style and cost considerations. If you look at your lower end or entry level type helmets, I guess I would say a lot of them are fiberglass construction, and fiberglass is a very, very good um, material to use for helmets. It has great energy absorption properties. You can manipulate it to flex and absorb energy in certain ways in the production and R&D side of things. But one of the downsides is because of the construction technique or manufacturing process, they tend to be a little thicker and a little heavier, inexpensive, but the sacrifice is going to be, the trade-off is going to be a little bit heavier helmet. And there is a certain safety aspect to that I should mention, in that you want a light a helmet as you can possibly afford, because of secondary injuries and things like that. There's of course impact resistance and preventing concussions, but a lot of that has to do also with your head moving around. And the lighter helmet you have, the less the velocity it is of your helmet moving around in an event. If you can imagine, you take a ping pong ball versus a bowling ball, right? There's a big difference in weight, and objects in motion stay in motion, that whole thing. So the lighter helmet is actually not going to be moving as fast if you happen to impact something in the vehicle during an event. So there's that. And then also neck injuries, things like your basilar skull fractures, where where your neck bones meet up at your skull there. Things like that are all important too. So when you're looking at helmets, construction of the helmet, of course, is one thing. But a lot of it in terms of impact protection, they're all pretty good, right? They all have to meet certain standards. And, if you get a Snell rated helmet, they all have to meet a minimum standard. Now as a manufacturer, of course, we always push for beyond that. You want to be well beyond that. And so there's that as well. But a lot of it really comes down to things like style preferences, and how the looks of the helmet, and maybe the how much visuals you want to have with the helmet. So if you take, like, say, for example, and I do have one example here. This is like basically an example of a copy of our Vapor helmet, and the eye port is fairly narrow on this one. And some people prefer that. It gives them a little bit more feeling of protection, and maybe focus on the task at hand, maybe more of a direct look. Whereas some of the other helmets we do, like the 1320 and the Draft, have a wider eye port, or a taller eye port. And that can be important for people that, say, are a little claustrophobic, or just want to have a larger engagement of their situational awareness. We see a lot in off-road because there's so much going on with the terrain and stuff. They like to be able to see as much, even that peripheral stuff. Whereas typically in road racing and drag racing, they really want to reduce the amount of that peripheral input that's coming in, and again, stay focused, on the track. So there's a difference there in terms of the eye port as well. The rest of the things really are just, like I said, color and aesthetics. Really is the big thing there. And again, lightweight, costs more money. It costs a lot more to manufacture, say, a full carbon fiber helmet versus a fiberglass helmet. But in the middle of the range between your carbon fiber helmets and your fiberglass helmets, there are composite helmets, and we do a line of composite helmets, or Draft, or Vapors, even the Champ, are all composite helmets. And these are just a blend of several different fabrics in some cases, of all kinds of things in there, carbon and Kevlar and a little bit of fiberglass. some other newer technologies and stuff that we've that have come to market here in the last few years. And those can be some of the, I don't want to say safest, that's not really the correct way to put that. But in terms of testing performance, laboratory testing performance, they test very, very well. And they're lightweight. They're not as light as say a full carbon fiber, but they're pretty close and lighter than, say, your traditional fiberglass helmet. So I guess the point I'm making is that exceptional value in that price point. You start getting that, $800, $900 price point, which seems like a lot of money, but in the terms of helmets, in the world of helmets, that's kind of middle range. But there's a lot of performance to be found in that area, that price point of helmets, whether it's ours or some of the other manufacturers for that matter.
Okay, the other thing too is we get a helmet, you want to make sure that it's got these little things on the side.
Yeah,
I can tell you why.
Yeah, any helmet that has a Snell rating of 2015 or newer has to be set up for the post. It's a threaded insert in the helmet that allows you to use whatever, a Hans or a Next Gen or whatever device anchors, and it's all the same thread. It's universal. They all come together. And it's the same. It's an M6 fastener, so you can take off your old helmet and you can put it on the new helmet, and you just screw it in and torque it to the right proper torque spec and use some thread locking agent on there, and you're good to go.
Okay, cool. Something I neglected because I'm always forgetting unless I'm reminded. If you're just joining us, I'm Kenny Brown. This is Cars and Coffee. And if you're on Facebook, like, and if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and bell. Okay. So one thing I saw, let's see, Samantha had a question. Okay, I don't know if you can see that.
Which one?
That's the Axis Mini Axis Junior.
Oh yeah, huh?
Sizes.
So are you answering her question?
Yeah. So there is a junior. This is a Mini Axis Junior glove right there.
Oh yeah. So that one, yeah. So in the Axis, we do have the junior sizes, correct?
Do you have any other junior sizes?
You have any other anything else that come in junior sizes?
No, just that one.
What about shoes or stuff like that? I'm
No
sure you
shoes. Yeah, no shoes. Yeah. The challenge with shoes is the soles, and from a manufacturer standpoint, just volume versus sales. I'm not going to lie about that. It's just having the sales to be able to support the manufacturing process, because while we manufacture about 80% of what we do, we manufacture right there in Indianapolis. Shoes are one of those things that we don't manufacture in-house. Actually, a lot of that comes from our parent company, Sparco. But a lot of that's gated by minimum order necessities in the soles themselves. So unless you're selling a really lot of something, it can be quite expensive to bring to market. And then you've got a product that's not really priced right for the market either. So anyways, it's difficult to do those smaller sizes like that. It's not that we've abandoned it. We're working on that right now. Actually, we're kind of hoping we have something going into the 2022 season. Likewise, helmets, although we control that in-house, so it's certainly better from that standpoint. And so we'll have a line of youth helmets in here in the next several months. We'll be releasing our youth helmets. We've had them in the past, so we're going to bring them back. We do get a lot of requests for that, and so we'll have those as well. And we do have suits. We have a line of we call our mini racers that we're doing right now. It is actually literally a miniature version, like the Mini Axis glove, miniature version of our adult racer suit. So it's a full Nomex. It's got the floating gusseted sleeves. It's actually a nice suit.